Welcome back, everyone, to Web3 Unpacked. I'm Rich Pasqua, and joining us today is Jan Hartmann, CEO of Perion XP, the first and only AAA Quest-to-Earn layer that lets Web2 gamers earn crypto rewards for competing side quests in the world's most popular games, such as Fortnite. Welcome, Jan.
Thank you very much, Rich. It's good to be here.
Yeah. And you we were just catching up before we jumped on. You're hailing today from Melbourne, Australia, but originally from Deutschland, which is pretty cool. And you have pretty rich history in this world, leading payments and business development for, different organizations. Developing business strategies for Web3 organizations, all leading up to being the CEO of Perion XP, a unique gaming company. And let's be truthful here. I'm a gaming nerd. I started way back in the day as a gamer.
Nice.
I truly believe in the space as I do the Web3 space. And there's the two go hand in hand. So welcome. It's great to have you. And let's get into it.
Perfect.
So what, Jan, what we'd like to do often on the show is find out how your Web3 journey started. How did you get involved?
So how did I get involved? I actually came to Australia back in the day on an internship between my bachelor's and master's degree. And that venture capital firm had invested in a local Bitcoin exchange, making it easy for Australians to buy Bitcoin at the time. I was working in the same office space as the team, and I got very interested in it. We went for lunches together. The team told me more about it. And ultimately, I made the switch and started to work for them. And then that's sort of, how I really got immersed pretty early in the space. And then we scaled that from a local Australian Bitcoin exchange to a global B2B fiat on-ramp solution for crypto exchanges and wallets. And then moved into different roles there, but was very exposed to working with some of the largest exchanges and wallets all over the world in different crypto ecosystems. So I had really the helicopter view, and I guess, was part of that immense growth phase as well. And that's sort of like really how my journey in the space started. And I guess then during the COVID time, which was tough for everyone, but I think in Melbourne here we had one of the strictest lockdowns in the world. A friend of mine, one of the other co-founders, Amos, was telling me about a new, crypto project that he came across at the time that was Axie Infinity, Web3 game. Of course, not necessarily a AAA game, but at the time, it was a little bit of an aha moment for me because I thought it was really cool to see in-game items on secondary markets, in-game currency on secondary markets, basically having its own economy as the game. And so with a real labor market, a real market for goods and services, and like everything trusted, everything on chain. And I thought that was a little bit of an aha moment for me to think about, having played a lot of games myself in the past, that is a really cool use case for blockchain technology beyond really just payments and store of value at the time. Now we have more use cases as well, but gaming, I guess, also in terms of the market size, just being basically the biggest consumer discretionary spending market in the world. I thought there's a lot of things here that sit really well together. Then ultimately, I guess, that's the moment that Perion was born.
Yeah. And your story is great because one, you actually realized early on and you made that flip to the Bitcoin company, which was really smart. And two, understanding that gaming and rewards and payment systems, although it might not be like you're trading fiat, but you look at the the Fortnites of the world and the some of the bigger multiplayer or universe type of worlds, and they have their own financial ecosystem, and they have for well beyond Bitcoin. They've been doing it for a long time, and it goes to show you that much like other industries, gaming tends to lead the way. They're leading the way in VR. They're leading the way in, reward systems and immersive experiences, and now payments. It just goes hand in hand. Whereas
Yes.
before you had to make up tokens. You have a made up token that you're trading, and maybe you get a different outfits or gear or whatever or health or whatever you need. Now it actually could be real tradable economies at
Yeah.
scale, which is really a beautiful thing. And when we talk about gaming, it is the gamers who actually lead the way. Can you give us a little bit more of what Perion XP truly is? Is it just a wrapper with rewards? What is it? Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to describe it is a AAA questing layer. And what that really is, it's essentially a meta game on top of the biggest Web2 AAA gaming titles in the world. And so I guess what we're really saying is right now there's basically a tiny Web3 gaming audience. And I guess the way to, obviously there's about 3.5 billion Web2 gamers in the world. Many games with multiple millions of daily active users. We want to close that gap. And the way that how we're doing that essentially is through Perion XP. So what we're doing essentially is we're integrating the data from some of the largest game titles. Then Perion XP is a meta game that sits on top of it, which is, and that's where the title AAA comes from, is slightly different than the questing platforms that you're used to. It's actually its own game with its own, you pick your missions, you then we have a leaderboard. And so it's incredibly fun to play, very gamified, sort of, gives you like that additional dopamine hit. And really the idea is to, start with introducing the value of Web3 to a Web2 audience and Web2 gamers essentially that are already playing those titles anyway. And then from there on, the next step would be, down the road, to then introduce that audience also to high quality Web3 titles as well. But, essentially, AAA questing layer.
Mm. Yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, there's tons of things that go with this. Like, it truly is an onboarding. It's a Web3 onboarding kind of vehicle, which is the kind of the holy grail right now for a lot of Web3, even DeFi companies. Like, how do we capture the 2.0 mentality or the idea of a 2.0 world and migrate them to a much more robust and interesting Web3 world? And I think, I've had other gaming companies doing similar things, similar to Perion, but in different ways, and all of them were very fixated on the idea of on ramps and off ramps and onboarding and getting people within an ecosystem. And once to your point earlier, once you get bit by that bug, there's multiple tiers of challenges, and then you also get bit by the rewards bug, which is pretty powerful, and you start to kind of get absorbed into the ecosystem that way. So now, is this, or are you talking about xp.gg, or is it part of FanPlay? I know you have two different worlds there, right?
Yeah, good question. So XP, we actually launched it already in August last year. We did a little bit of a pilot test, and by December we had about 30,000 users. At the time, it was actually just physical rewards. So we were giving away, or you had a chance as a player to win a PlayStation every season, which was monthly. So XP has been around for a while and it has gotten really good traction. But then I guess, ultimately we have a bigger vision here and we want to introduce those audiences to the value of blockchain and gaming. And so now I guess this is evolving into its next phase, which is Web3 elements in the platform, Web3 rewards, Perk integrated in the platform as well, and an additional leaderboard as well, which is actually slightly inspired by Axie's leaderboard at the time. So we're merging those XP into the Perion brand, and that's where Perion XP is coming from. FanPlay is a separate product essentially. So this was actually a sort of prototype that we've built a while back, and then have spun that out with a separate team that was still very heavily involved though, but it's a separate product.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jan, FanPlay is actually a different layer, if you will, that allows people to bet on, like literally bet on any of the action within the XP environment, right? Which is really interesting. So you have, the one thing that attracted me was the idea of letting new players warm up, but also incentivizing them and honing their craft or honing their gaming skills within your ecosystem and earning. But then as you mature, and you may be a completely different type of player, you might be like me, like I don't play that many games anymore, but I'm really into the idea of like gaming. And maybe if I was a real FanDuel type of sports betting person, I'd be like, okay, let's bet on key players. You can have your fantasy teams and do whatever. So I hope I got that right.
So there is going to be an integration with FanPlay down the road. Currently, FanPlay has so that's further on the roadmap. Currently on FanPlay, the idea is basically that you can bet on things right now on FanPlay that you can't find anywhere else, and it's all proprietary content. So it's a mixture of a content and a betting play. And so let me give you some examples. On FanPlay, you can bet on Hamster Racing League. So you can there's a daily hamster race that you can bet on. There's a marble racing league, and the marbles all have their own characters. The hamsters have their own characters. You've got a Max Verstappen and Hammy Hamilton and a bunch of others. And there's a little more content coming there. That's sort of the phase one, and the team already had incredible success. I still remember commenting on TikTok on one of those races in German just for fun, and then got multiple millions of views. But it's sort of essentially the WTF content that the team is creating there. But then, of course, very closely affiliated, and so how we connect that with XP, we're already having a lot of conversations there, and so there's certainly something coming in the near future there as well.
It's. I love the WTF kind of content, if you will, because it's already, you watch, like you get hypnotized by a lot of this stuff. Like they're just like memes, but marble racing, who cares? But yet you find yourself watching silly stuff. Hamster racing. I'm assuming a lot of this is virtual and done with, algorithms and, arbitrary algorithms and stuff like that. But man, they could have a real world IRL kind of hamster racing.
No, like it is actually in the real world. So the team has the hamsters they have a great life. They have a massive little home in London where they are, getting fed every day and having a lot of space, and then doing the daily races in their little cars. So you can check it out on hamsterracingleague.com. But there's even the team even did a little race alongside the Singapore Formula One Grand Prix, and had the hamsters there running on the actual racetrack. And I guess the content coming out of that, the crowd loved it. So it's something that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
That's fantastic. And Jan, it reminds me of what they do here in the States for Super Bowl Sunday, which we'll see actually next Sunday. They usually have Puppy Bowl, which is a whole lot of nothing. It's just cute puppies kind of smashing into each other, basically, with jerseys on. But it reminds me of that. And the Formula One, matching the hamsters in little cars. I love it. I think it's just wacky and fun. And I really thought it was all virtual, which I think you could probably do anyways. But I would love to see that league, literally see more things burst out of that league, as long as they're safe and the animals are not.
They are. Yes. Yeah. That's very important, of course.
But yeah. So, all right, good. So we talked about that, and gamers and rewards kind of go hand in hand, right? So we love that. Now we touched on the idea of onboarding into Web3, and it is a big challenge, of course. And we talked about how great gaming is for that. But what is, like, if you could give us some of your secrets, maybe some of the challenges you've had with onboarding, and then what's your secret sauce for bringing people on? Because it's challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly is. And I guess that's really why we're here to solve that problem actually for Web3 games, for quality Web3 games
Mhm.
as well. But I guess, first thing I would probably say is have a killer product that people actually enjoy using, that they tell their friends about, that's very easy to onboard. So I guess, we all know how hard it is especially to explain it to a newbie in the Web3 world. If you set up a MetaMask and you have to write down 24 words, and then it's like, oh, if I lose those, I won't be able to get access to my funds anymore. So within Perion XP, it's very different. You just need to you just put in your email address, or you sign in with Google, and your wallet is created. So every single one of the players that is signing up to XP automatically gets a Web3 wallet without even really knowing it. And we think that's the way that it should be. That user experience just has to be as simple as possible. We're then partnering with quite a few different gaming communities all over the world to, have their audience try out our product. We're doing advertisements on social media platforms, for that initial user acquisition, and quite a few partnerships also beyond gaming communities in terms of other games. In the Web3 space, we have invested in a few games as well, so we're really close to them there and have a lot of synergies to help them with user onboarding. That's sort of really how I would say we're trying to solve this onboarding problem.
Yeah, and then it's onboarding, and we're starting to see a lot of other organizations do what XP is doing, whereas the wallets are behind the scenes, and it's like, yeah, you've got a wallet and maybe it's always active on the top and you can see that it's active and you're gaining points. And then it's like, well, how do I extract those, or how do I use those? And that's the next step, right? How do you activate your wallet? But also it's ongoing engagement. I don't care if you're in gaming or DeFi or anything. People need to be stimulated, and they need to be activated on a daily basis, right? And not a lot of Web3 companies do this well. And it's part of what I've learned, and where my head is going into the future is it'll be done through the wallet, right? So your wallets will be very active, whether you use MetaMask, the next generations of MetaMask, and Phantom for that matter, or other ones, will be very engaging, right? Right now, it's just like, all right, what network do you want? Do you want to swap something? Okay, great. It does its job well, but you as a brand will have the ability to communicate through tokens, NFTs, and other things right through the wallets themselves. So we're just touching the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg here. I think there's a lot of interesting marketing and engagement type of experiences that we have yet to see just now, but very exciting time. And the onboarding is and engagement is absolutely crazy and important. So now, can you give us a little idea of, like, when I'm in Fortnite, right? I'm playing through, Perion XP. Is it like a wrapper? Do I have something on top, like a leaderboard on top of the game? And does it slow it down, or is it just through the wallet, or how does it work?
You can imagine it kind of like as a companion app. And so basically you're playing Fortnite. Let's say you're playing Fortnite on a console. You can just on your, on your computer or on your phone, link your Epic account to Perion XP. And then we're receiving the data in real time. And you're then seeing the leaderboard basically on a second screen. So the way I would describe it is a companion app. It doesn't slow the game down or anything like that. You basically, that's very interesting. I was talking about the pilot last year as well. Like, we've seen users sort of spend on average 7 hours a week to do questing through Perion XP while playing Fortnite. And so essentially, it's basically people go, let's say, okay, let me put an example. You got to do 10 kills in the next 5 hours. So then you go in the game, you get your kills in and come back, and then you see the page refresh, you see yourself move up on the leaderboard, and you're getting that engagement hit essentially. But it's a companion app.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for that, because it does help. Because immediately, I put my gamer hat on and I'm like, ooh, I hope this doesn't, is it a wrapper? Is it a layer? Is it going to slow me down? But it doesn't sound like it is. And between games, even when, to your point, even when your next round or you're respawning or whatever you're doing, you got a few seconds there. And sometimes it's longer than a few seconds. Then you're like, okay, how did I do? Oh, I did get the 10. I did hit the next level. Dopamine hit. Now you're back in the game and you want to hit it harder, right? So I like it. It's like this weird, it's like you said, it's a companion that and then, you don't want to distract. You don't want to pull people out of the game, but you want to keep them engaged in other ways. And you guys seem like you're hitting it. And I would imagine this is just the tip of the iceberg for you guys, because I can see other types of like micro gaming in between the larger AAAs, that actually like, okay, I got literally 5 seconds. Let me Candy Crush something and boom. And then I'm back into the game. That's really cool. And then the actual incentives are another obviously important layer to the gaming world. So that's cool. And now I don't think it's launched yet, but Perk, which is super interesting. It's your own proprietary token, which from what I'm hearing is going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, offered on Base, that's a pretty big deal, Jan. To have a gaming type of tokenization on Base or related to Coinbase is amazing. Can you give us a little more information on how when we might be able to see Perk? What is it going to do for us, and what does that ecosystem look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the migration to Base is actually happening today, our time.
Oh, wow.
So you will be able to see it on Base very soon. And, Perk is essentially going to be the key currency within the product. So there's certain, in-game purchases within PerionXP. And to be able to do those, you need Perk. That's one part of the utility. Now, the prizes in the prize pool is also in Perk as well. So if you are in the top ranks of the leaderboard, you will receive a Perk prize. And so you're getting that real, Web3 reward. Now, there's another part to it as well where Perion is a DAO, and Perk also acts as a governance token as well, where anyone can essentially have a say, as long as they're holding Perk, on decisions within the DAO as well. So that's sort of Perk. It stands actually for Perion credits, and yeah.
That's good. It reminds me a little bit of, do you remember Wax? It was related to gaming and whatnot. I had bought into it a while ago. It just never really took off, or I wasn't using it for its real intended purpose. And I wound up, reburning it or doing whatever I was doing with it. But this is really exciting. The fact that it's going to be on Base makes it that much more legitimate in my eyes and fluid. It's easier to onboard and offboard, and because how sometimes you're using these third-party systems and it's hard to kind of extract some of these things.
Yes.
Even some of the bigger, decentralized mining pools for like video and other audio and whatever it may be, even 3D. It's hard to extract some of that stuff. So it's really good that you're making the whole thing fluid, because when it is fluid and you're not trapped within one ecosystem, it makes it that much more appealing. It makes it like you're really earning. So that's exciting. The other thing that I was going to get to, but you hit on it already, is the DAO. Now, depending on who you talk to, DAOs are great. And for me, I would love to see literally every government using DAOs, right? From my lips to God's ears, right? So hopefully we have that
Well,
decentralized world.
I
Yeah.
saw in the news yesterday that Elon Musk wants to bring the U.S. Treasury on chain. So we'll see how that goes.
So
Maybe that's the first step.
so you hit exactly, Jan. I was going to bring that up. The Elon Musk thing.
I'll stop now.
Yeah, and you know what? It flew right under the radar for a lot of people, but it literally blew my mind, because I've been saying this
Yeah.
for 10 plus years. Elections, blockchain; government spending, blockchain. Well, the Fed's a different story, but I was blown away by it, and I hope it's just not, cool crypto blockchain bubbly comments on X every once in a while to keep people enticed. I really want to see this happen, and I'm sure people across the world, Australia, Germany, definitely could use that right about now. So much to follow there. That's a whole other conversation, but I really like the Perk. I really like the way it's really, you're situating it in a very smart way. And then the DAO, that is just, a complete, to me, when you have a DAO and you invest time in building and crafting the layers of a DAO, or a government, if you will, your own government, that shows that an organization puts a lot of time and effort and trust in their community. Is it, as I mentioned before, is it for everyone? No. But I do think the gaming community is mature enough and understands how to use these systems in a very clever way. And it's really, really great. I applaud you guys for doing that. It's just that extra nice layer to it. Now, just because, gaming, you can't escape any world, whether it be VR, just tech in general, crypto. Gaming is definitely a big part of things. And we know we see it in the finance world, like the VC world. Who is supporting you guys? If you can mention some VCs you're playing with right now.
Yeah. So to name a few, Pantera is one of our supporters. Framework Ventures, Spartan, a few of the exchanges like Gemini and KuCoin, and then a variety of different angel investors and funds from Australia as well. So yeah, we do have quite a few supporters that are joining us on this mission. And it's been great to be working with them over the last couple of years, and we're receiving great support across the board, and also within I guess the portfolio companies. It's often like their own communities there, so we have Telegram groups where we can exchange thoughts, or where we can sort of, if we run into an issue, see if someone else has encountered it of the portfolio companies. So really receiving great support there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jan, because when people are like, oh, Pantera's, helping us out, or A16Z, or, whoever it may be, that's great. And you get money. Obviously, it's a whole investment, obligation as well. But what people don't really realize underneath the surface is exactly what you said. There are a community within a community. It's the VC community of all the holding companies, and then they tend to play well and handshake well together. And a lot of the VCs actually will have common protocols that they're working on, or common ecosystems that they're working on. Obviously, we want ecosystems that are cross pollinating, but they have this universe that they're generally all playing well within already. So there's a lot of connections there, and a lot of cross community type of support there as well. So really good point you brought up there for our audience. Now, as we wrap up a little bit, Jan, one thing I love to hear from our guest is outside of the Perion XP world. What, like, it could be anything within the Web3 world, but outside of your day to day, because we know you're excited about that. What are you excited about in the next 6 months, year plus in this world?
Oh, look, I think I probably have to go back to the to think about the payments world there. I think there's going to be I think there's going to be a lot of innovation on the payments front. So particularly talking about stablecoin adoption, new different stablecoin projects. I think like the other day I saw a screenshot somewhere where someone was paying an online e-commerce merchant with using Stripe, and the first option wasn't Visa, MasterCard, or Amex. It was USDC. And I thought, like, wow, this is many years ago, or not that many years ago, this would have been unheard of. So I think there's a lot of room for innovation as well, like particularly in the US with the wire system. It's very antiquated, and there's a lot of room for innovation also in a lot of other countries as well, especially when we're talking about cross-border transfers and so on. So I think that's still an area that I'm also very passionate still about, and follow closely, and I'm watching what's going to happen there this year.
Yeah, you brought up the wire transfers, and basically that's the Swift network. And one of the most exciting things that I'm seeing, and I'm going to piggyback on you, I love the innovation that's happening in the DeFi space. Now you look at, well, Swift, you might not replace Swift, the Swift network in the United States in particular, but that's a global thing anyways. But you're going to have new partners, and the main partner is Link. It's Chainlink.
Yes.
So not financial advice, kids, but I'm just, if there's one player that, in the alt arena, if you will, that is poised for absolute smashing success and will have their hands and technology in every payment's pockets, it's Link. Check it out. Not financial advice, please. I am not a financial advisor at all.
The team is doing a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, I've been tracking them for years, and that is very exciting. And then Stripe, PayPal for that matter, their whole payment system and community has and is changing. But there's going to be all sorts of new services, even like what you're bringing with Perion, layers of different types of payments and rewards and saving systems that will blow your average bank out of the water and can move light years faster and cheaper.
Absolutely. Yes, I 100% agree. Yeah. So very fascinated about that, and we'll also see how we bring that into our product in future, or evolve our product in future around that space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a pitch and a catch thing. Like everyone's innovating on their end, their specific niches, but DeFi is doing some cool stuff that's going to literally open hearts, minds, and wallets, literally.
I mean, technology always brings innovation, and blockchain, there's brings a lot of innovation in a lot of different spaces, and so payments, trading, gaming. So it's gonna be very exciting to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm, even more so now that we spoke, Jan, I'm very interested in tracking your progress, the product itself, and actually witnessing kind of all these little things that you've been mentioning bubble up over time. Now with the Perk token, that's pretty impressive onto itself. That'll have a lot more functionality and features probably coming in the next months to a year. Now, where can our audience learn more about Perion XP and all of the products and services that you're offering?
Yeah, absolutely. So first step, I would say, is follow us on Twitter. It's Perion DAO, so Perion DAO. And then you can visit us on xp.gg.
Excellent. Yeah. I've been having tons of conversations about like, hey, what platform is what? And some Web3 protocols and platforms, or even L1s, L2s, they're like, oh, X is good for this, but they're very focused on, say, their.
Oh, I should have said X. Yes.
Yeah. But you can't escape, like, the gaming community, the crypto community. It's the Wild West. It's in a good way, I think, on X. It's like a lot of stuff happening. It's very exciting. So we're thrilled to have met you, Jan, and have been introduced to PerionXP here on the channel. And we want to track you, and we would love to have you back and see where you're at in the next couple of months. So
thank you very much, Rich. This has been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll speak soon.
Speak soon. Thank you.
Web3 Unpacked is proudly published by Movement, a leading design consultancy that specializes in Web 2 and 3, strategy, design, branding, creative content development, and content marketing. We help companies ensure that their brand and business remain differentiated and competitive in a rapidly evolving digital landscape. To learn more, please visit mvmt.media.